This item is basically a resolution asking to be joined to the legal proceedings regarding the crosstown. I think over the last number of months we've heard a lot of people raise some pretty interesting questions as to the process there. They've asked us to take action, and basically we've been limited because we didn't take action so many years ago. There's really not a lot that we can do. We weren't a party to the lawsuit, and so our hands were kind of tied. This is actually a resolution asking to be admitted as a party to that, and basically it was out of response to what some of the citizens had said. So I thought it was probably appropriate at this point that the council take some kind of a visual side on the deal and let it be however it is and let it be done, and that way people will know kind of where we stand on the deal.
Okay. Are you going to make a motion?
Yeah, motion to approve it.
It has to do with the legality of it. One of the options on this matter is to go into executive session to talk about the litigation. I think we could go into litigation. Into executive session. Is it possible to discuss some of that here without? I'm not insisting that we do that. I'm just wondering if we can't discuss some of the legal issues without going into executive session.
It's up to the council.
I've been probably the most outspoken on the horseshoe with regard to this issue. Not the issue of whether we get involved in this lawsuit or not, but the issue as to whether or not we do what we can to try to preserve union session. I've watched this matter move along without really much support from other members on the council for various reasons. That's not a disparaging comment with regard to anybody else, but it hasn't, it's one of those kind of things, you run it up the flagpole and it doesn't get very many salutes, you kind of move on down the road. I've come to the conclusion, after working with the people that are involved in the on-track group and people that are involved in the bringing the lines in from Midwest City and bringing the lines in from the Adventure Line, the downtown streetcar idea, and talking to the people that are interested in bringing light rail in from the surrounding cities, and listening to the ODOT folks, that we may be past the point where this is any longer relevant. It's a shame that it is. The destruction of the rail yard, I think, is something that will financially, at least, and probably for other reasons, come back to haunt us in the future. But I think we may have waited to the point where this is no longer a practical approach to it. I'm going to vote for the resolution, but I do it with certain reservations about the practical nature of what we're asking to be done at this late date. And my vote is largely symbolic at this point, because I have serious reservations as to whether the time has not passed where this would work. And I second it again for the purpose of further discussion, but that's I want to make my position clear. I spent some time this weekend. Actually, I went to St. Louis expressly for the purpose of looking at their mass transit hub. Incidentally, I caught a couple of Cardinal baseball games in the process, but I was absolutely impressed by the way that hub works. They not only hub their buses, their mass trans system, it's a light rail, downtown rail system, Amtrak, the Greyhound bus station is all hubbed into one location. It is an absolutely, it's really interesting to see it work. They're all right there together. I wonder if there's space left anywhere in Oklahoma City at a reasonable cost that we'll be able to accomplish that, frankly. I walked around it and saw how wide it was and how deep it was, and east and west and north and south, and I wonder if we can find a place that reasonably will accommodate that, and I know that Union Station would have. There's no question in my mind it would have. But I'm afraid that we're past the time when it'll work, but I wanted to make sure that everybody understood exactly where I was. I think it is the failure to preserve the rail yard in Union Station and the changing of the use of the Union Station depot to an adjunct on a park is a real tragedy. I'm glad we're saving the building, but to me, I think it's a tragedy. The building was designed to be used for something else. It would have worked or would work perfectly for that thing. There's with some accommodations, and it's a sad commentary on the degree to which we let the asphalt community dictate what we're going to do in Oklahoma City.
Sam, and then Meg.
Mayor, I don't disagree with anything that Pete said. In fact, I do agree that unfortunately the Union Pacific Station I think is personally past that time. And what I would like us to do with the time that we have and the focus that we can put on what options we have that haven't passed is the opportunity to look much more seriously at the Santa Fe Station as to how that could serve in conjunction with our transit ideas as well as bus in some coordinated intermodal location. We haven't worked out yet. I've had, and I assume you have, Mayor, some preliminary conversations with AGCOG that it is definitely worth looking at, that the time has not passed for us to consider some type of intermodal hub arrangement utilizing the Santa Fe. And for that reason, that's where I want to go, and I want to go forward, and for that reason, I think the time has passed, and only for that reason I'm going to vote against it.
Yeah, Meg?
I guess I'd like to make a couple of comments. I've been fairly silent from the horseshoe on this issue, but before I was elected to council, I have been working on this project, and I'd like to recognize Dr. Kessler here today. We had an opportunity to meet before I was elected, and he shared some very wise comments and thoughts about Union Station. I have spent an awful lot of time trying to understand whether or not there was any possibility that we could consider relocating I-40 and saving the tracks at the station. I know Mr. Elmore has been critical of this comment, but I believe that for 10 years many people believed that saving Union Station related to saving the building in Union Station and wasn't as clear about saving the tracks. That building is on the National Register of Historic Places and will be saved, and hopefully will be an important part of our Core to Shore program, and may be able to be converted into what many other stations have as a vibrant hub of restaurants and transit museum, and hopefully a hub for our modern streetcar. But we are fully 10 years down the path. We have a dangerous situation with I-40, and I think many of the on-track folks who've been working on this program for a very long time believe today that taking a hard look at the Santa Fe Station as an intermodal hub that might include a modern rail car or a modern streetcar, if that's the direction we end up going. There's a lot of conversation, as Sam mentioned, about reactivating spurs for Midwest City and the Adventure District. Those come out of the Santa Fe area. The physical location of Santa Fe Station is better positioned for our community today. Were we to use the Union Station hub as the locus, it's not